Hello, BookTube. Hello, friends. Welcome to Lizziefaye Loves Books. I'm Elizabeth, and it is time to share with you what I read in the month of February. For a short month, I read a lot of books, almost a book a day. I had 27 books finished, or at least 27 titles finished for the month, and I'm super excited about it. So let's just get started. I like to kind of do my totals and genres and things like that first, and then we'll get into what I read for each challenge. And as usual, the majority of my books are audiobooks because it's just much easier for me to consume audiobooks while I'm going about my day, working on my eBay store, housework, things like that. So I had in total 20 books that were on audio and 7 that were in print. My biggest genre was mysteries with a total of 9, and 2 of those were short stories. And then I had 4 romances. Then I had 4 books that were nonfiction. 2 of those were memoir. And then I had 3 books that were historical fiction. 2 books that were children's books. Those were for the Little House Readathon. And I had 4 books that were Christian fiction. Those were all from one series. I completed one series start to finish. And then 1 sci-fi book. And I think if you total that up, that comes to 27. So I had several readathons and challenges and things like that I was working on, and the same will be true for every month. The Little House Readathon, I ended up reading 3 things, but then right at the end of the month, I squeezed in 1 more Little House related audiobook, and I really enjoyed that. So I did kind of a mid-month wrap-up already, and I talked about the ones that I read, so I won't go into much detail about those, but the group read was Farmer Boy. And then the other children's book I read is actually a bind-up of 6 children's books, but I'm just counting this as one book. This is a Little House Treasury of picture books, and this was a gift from Mitzi Reads and Writes. She either gave me this for my birthday or for Christmas. I can't remember now which one, but it was delightful. I read that with Emily. And then I read 1 memoir during the readathon. That was Prairie Man by Dean Butler. And then right at the end of the month, I needed something fast to just fill in a few hours right on the last day of February. And I remembered that I had this one in my Audible library. It's in the Audible Plus package, and so I already had it in my Audible library, but this is the memoir by Melissa Anderson, and I really like this. Now, I was looking at some of the reviews after I was done, and it got a lot of criticism because she just basically talked about different episodes and her reaction to them and how she felt while she was filming them and things like that. But honestly, I hear the opposite criticism from some of these memoirs that say they didn't talk enough about Little House. They just talked about their, sexual exploits and things like that. So, you can't please everybody. But I actually really like this. I enjoyed the look back and the reflection on the episodes. She did not mention anything about her relationships currently with any of the other cast, because I know that she has been a little more reclusive than some of the others. She does not usually attend the reunions and the big interview programs and things like that. But I found this to be a very enjoyable book. So for those of you who complained that there was not enough talk about the filming of Little House in the other memoir, I think you would really like this one. The other readathon I participated in just by reading 1 book was the Retro Romance Readathon, hosted by Storm from Storm Reads and Sarah the Bookish Knitter. Sarah also started a category romance book club this year, and one of her authors that you could choose from for February was Betty Neals. So I ended up reading one of the books that she was also reading, and Tammy from Believe in Your Shelf was also reading this one. It's Ring in a Teacup by Betty Neals. This was my first Betty Neals. Now I have a few others on my shelves. I have a large collection right now that I'm getting ready to list on eBay, but I had never actually sat down and read one, and I really enjoyed it. Now, it didn't blow me away, and I will probably reserve judgment. After only having read 1 book, I need to definitely read more books by her before I decide if Betty Neals and I are a good fit. It was definitely a clean romance, but there were just some relationship issues and things like that didn't really blow me away, and I just I just thought it wasn't a very satisfying relationship between the two love interests. So definitely very clean, no graphic content at all, but I don't know if I would call it sweet. It was not really a sweet relationship. It was interesting, but not something that just wowed me. There were a couple of other readathons happening in February that I just either forgot about or found out late about. There were two that I did not get to participate in, and really I could have probably read one book and participated in both. One of them was February, hosted by Paperbacks and Ponytails, and the other was hosted by Kat's Novel Adventures, called Folklore February. And I didn't know about Folklore February until like halfway through the month, and I thought, oh, I could probably pick up something. And on my Serious About series list, I have this series, the Land of Story series by Chris Colford. Now, I've read this first one. I probably need to read it again before I continue on. But I looked these up on Everand, and I saw that they were all on there. And I told Kat, oh, yay, I can, read one of those, and I will have participated. But then, through a little further clicking, I realized that these are considered premium titles, and I can't listen to them unless I upgrade my membership and pay some more money. And I just wasn't prepared to do that at that moment. So anyway, it remains to be seen whether I will upgrade or not. But and I do want to at least go ahead and reread this one, and then also pick up the second one this year, because I do have this series on my Serious About series list. I finished 2 books for book club. I started another one that I didn't get very far in. I kept hoping that my audiobook would come in, and it did not. So I just put that one on the back burner, and I will get to it as soon as my audiobook comes in. It's James by Percival Everett. Our book club did meet and discuss this one, but so I just had to go without having it finished. I had only read about the first chapter. I think it's going to be a very interesting book, and I think I'm going to enjoy it, but I'm going to have to wait for the audiobook on this one. The one I did finish for this past month was Calamity of Souls by David Baldacci. This was very good. It's historical fiction. It's kind of a legal thriller, and I thought it was excellent. And then I jumped ahead because I had requested this on audio, and it came in, and it's The Women by Kristen Hanna. Now, this is going to be our book club book for, I think, May. And now I have read it. I was a little nervous to read it because I knew it was going to be tough. And it was tough, but I did really enjoy it, and I'm glad that I read it. I had 2 buddy reads at the start of February. One of them was book 2 in the Harmony Harbor series by Debbie Mason. And I read this with Fiona from Reads and Eats. We very much enjoyed it. And then I started out the month with a buddy read with Mr. Francie of the first book in the Restoration series by Terry Blackstock. I love this. And I think Mr. Francie was enjoying it too. But about mid-month, he decided that his mood reading was just pulling him to read only cozy mysteries. And he messaged me, do you mind if I just put this on the back burner for now? And I said, no, that's totally fine, as long as you don't care if I go ahead and read it. So I went ahead and finished it, and I loved it so much that I just completely binged the rest of the series. So book 1 is Last Light, and this is labeled a Christian dystopian series. In this first book, right in the beginning, all of the power goes out, and they are left with no working motors, no engines, no computers, no electricity, no anything like that. And it just goes from there. So then I read book 2, which is Nightlight. And I listened to these on audio. I just plowed through them. They were so good. Book 3 is True Light. And book 4 is Dawn's Light. Now, I have these beautiful copies that my sister gave me for my birthday. And these are gorgeous. I'm going to hang on to these, A, because they were a gift. And B, because I might like to just sit down and at some point just savor these and read them in print. I think that would be very enjoyable. But for now, I just couldn't stop. I just wanted to know what happened, and I loved this series. I participated in one read-along, and that was with the Killin' Time with Cozies group. We are currently doing a read-along of the Emergency Dessert Squad series by Laura Bradford. This is book 1 called Eclair and Present Danger. This was a lot of fun. there was some chat about it not being very plausible at times, but still, I thought it was very fun. If you can just kind of suspend your belief and just have fun imagining the idea of it, then, and try not to worry about the practicalities of it, then I think you will enjoy this book. So for my SAS list this year, I did end up finishing one series that was on my Serious About Series list. So I read 2 books in the Twilight, Texas series by Lori Wilde. Not a series that I have absolutely loved. It does get steamy at times, but it was a series that I had collected and I had gotten started on it, and I'm a finisher. So because most of these were available to me on audio, I had finished up most of these early in 2024. But this last and most recent book was not available on audio at the time, but now it is. So I have listened to The Christmas Brides at Twilight. And then I had skipped over one of the novellas because I didn't think it was available to me. And then I realized it was on Hoopla on ebook. So I read this little novella. I actually started it in January, didn't finish it up until February, but that's fine. I'm glad now that I'm caught up with that series. And even though I haven't been enjoying them as much as some of the earlier books, if more come out, I'll probably still read them, but they do have a bit more graphic content than is to my taste. But usually there's a pretty good story. Some have been better than others, but they're okay. I counted 6 other books that I read in February that are part of series that I'm working on. I don't have physical copies of all of them. I did listen to 4 more books in the Campers and Criminals series by Tanya Kappas. I listened to books 11 through 14, and I will just be showing you those pictures as we go along because I can never remember all of those titles. Then I listened to book 5 in the Allie Reynolds series by J.A. Jance called Trial by Fire, and this was on my Serious About Series list, on the list of series that I'm on number 5 of, and I really enjoyed this, and I can't wait to get back into more J.A. Jance. She's one of my most read authors, and I realized through my searching that she's written several in some of the other series that I thought I was caught up on or almost caught up on. So now I have even more books than I thought to read by J.A. Jance, and I'm excited to get back into those. I also read book 9 of The Cruise Ship Mysteries by Hope Callahan on my Kindle, and that was a lot of fun. I don't think I have any more of this series. At least I don't have the next one in my Kindle library. So I'm going to have to either start a new series by her or purchase some more. And so I'm currently not reading anything by her this month. But I very much enjoyed that, and I'm happy to, check that box set off my list. I've now completed 2 box sets by Hope Callahan. I own a couple of others, but they are different series by her. So like I said, I'm still a little undecided about which direction to go next, but I very much enjoy the Cruise Ship Mysteries, and I definitely want to read more of that series. And then I listened to 2 different short stories from the Reacher series. One of them was in the Reacher book of short stories called No Middle Name, and then another one was in a book of short stories called Face Off that featured a lot of different mystery thriller authors, and they were paired up in each short story with the main character from each of the authors' series, each in a story together. And that would be a very interesting book to read and a fun project. I only just read the one that had to do with Reacher. It was Reacher versus Nick Heller. And I'll have to put the other author up here because I already can't remember now who it was. But there were some other authors there that I recognized and some other authors that I've read. So I would definitely like to read more of that book in the future. I did listen to one more book on my 60 by 60 list, and I really enjoyed it. This is called The Sewing Machine by Natalie Fergie. It's basically a dual timeline story, and the central thing in the story is this sewing machine, which has lasted throughout several generations. And I thought it was a fascinating story. I really, really enjoyed it. My sister may have given me this one. Charlotte, if you're watching this, if you gave me this one, let me know. If you did not give me this one, then you should read it. I think you really enjoy it. Anyway, I would definitely recommend this book. It says 2 families, 3 secrets, millions of stitches. I did finish the one Star Wars book that I started in January, finished in February. This is Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn. I had thought that I would go on and read book 2 in this trilogy, but I just decided to put that on hold until March Mystery Madness is over. This was very, very good, though. I can definitely see what all the hype is about. I'm really excited to get back into this trilogy when I can pick up the next book. I don't own it, or I would maybe just kind of dip in and out as I have time, but I'm going to have to get it from the library as of right now. And anyway, though, the first book, though, is probably hyped as one of the best Star Wars books that have ever been written, and it's one of the very earliest ones. It is the first Star Wars book that was published in the 90s, and it's described as kind of, bringing Star Wars back into the forefront. There was kind of a dry spell for a little while in the 80s, and this really brought Star Wars back to the attention of a lot of fans. So I was excited to get to it, and I'm really looking forward to reading more. And the last group of books I want to show you are what I would just call books that I've had laying around the house that I need to get read and, move them on out. So I have 2 books and 2 magazines. Now, the books were just quick and easy reads that could both be read in one sitting. One of them, I think I already showed you. It's Days by Susan Branch. This I think, was meant to write things in, but I chose not to. I just enjoyed reading the quotes and seeing the illustrations and just enjoying her creativity. And I'm probably going to pass this on to someone else, but I thought this was delightful. This one is called Make Yourself Cozy by Katie Vaz. I found this in our little free library probably a couple of years ago, and I thought I would just sit down, read it real quick, and take it right back to the little free library. Well, it has been tossed around, laid around, it's been in my book cart, and finally I thought, I am going to read that already, and it was delightful. I'm probably not going to put it back in the little free library. I'll take some other things to the little free library. I'm going to pass this on to someone else, but I just thought this was a really cute little book, and I'll tell you, as I was reading it, I was thinking about my friend Sonia from Sonia with an I, because she has cornered the market on coziness. If you want to know how to be cozy, all you need to do is watch a couple of her videos. And every page I would turn, I would think, Sonia would do this. Sonia does this. This is a Sonia book. So anyway, if you can find this little book, it gives you lots of fun ideas to make yourself cozy. And I thought it was really fun. And then I have a couple of magazines. One of them took me actually 3 months to read. This is a devotional magazine from, I think, 2009, 2010. But, I find that if I pick up these little devotional magazines, even if they are years old, if I can kind of match them up to the seasons, then I can just read them and, match up the dates, and I am still blessed, even though it was meant to be read several years ago. So this was from December, January, and February of 2009, 2010. And it's just basically little devotional readings where you have one verse there, and then there's a slightly larger selection of scriptures that's a part of that you can go to your Bible and read, and then there's a narrative and a little prayer, and I just thought it was wonderful. Then the other thing that this magazine features, because this was published by Lizziefaye, which is the Southern Baptist publishers, and they have all of the missionaries, both currently working and retired Southern Baptist missionaries, listed on their birthdays, so that as you read each day, you can pray for them. And then there's a few featured ones, but I just thought that was really neat, and I love that idea. And then I also read this little magazine, which is, again, old, but I found a few things in here that I thought were interesting. This is called Organizing Good Things, from the editors of Martha Stewart Living, and I believe this is from 2004. It's just a little magazine that has ideas for decluttering and just improving your spaces and things like that. So I enjoyed this. I will probably add this to the little free library next time I go, and I'm happy that I read it. And before I go, I have one other book I want to share with you that I read in December. I accidentally left it out of my December wrap-up, and then I accidentally left it out of my January wrap-up, and I'm determined not to leave it out of my February wrap-up because I need to discard this book. It is damaged, and yes, there's a little bit of mold inside. It got damaged when I had some flooding in our utility room a few years ago, and this was at the bottom of a box that was in the utility room, and this suffered the most water damage, and I thought I had it dried out well enough that it wasn't going to mold, but after sitting around for a couple of years, when I went back to open it, it had started to mold inside. I was able to read it because I really wanted to read it, but I am going to have to discard it now, and the reason I accidentally left it out of my wrap-ups is I didn't want to pack it in with my other books because I didn't want anything to, transfer from this book to another book. But anyway, I've showed this in my December TBR. It's Christmas Cats, and it's edited by Shirley Russo Murphy, and it just has some really nice little Christmassy themed, cat themed short stories. There are some excerpts of larger books, and there are some short stories. And I thought this was really, really neat. I think Glenda, one of my subscribers, picked it up after she heard me talking about it, and she read it in December as well. I think she said that she didn't love every story, and I would agree with that. There were a couple of stories that, I didn't necessarily love, but for the most part, I thought that it was a very enjoyable book, and I'm really glad that I read it. So I do have the dog version, and thankfully it's not damaged. So maybe this year for December I can read the Christmas Dogs version. It's edited by a different author, of course, an author who writes about dogs, whereas the authors featured here are authors who write about cats. And I thought it was a lot of fun. Well, that is everything I read in February and one book I read in December. Let me know in the comments what you read in February, if you read anything that you would recommend or anything I should steer clear of. And let's just chat in the comments. I hope that you are having a good March Mystery Madness so far, or Middle Grade March, or March of the Mammoths, or Irish Readathon, or whatever you're reading right now in the month of March. And I will see you soon in another video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you.